Entrar por um ouvido e sair pelo outro. It just goes in one ear and out the other.
He never remembers anything I tell him. It just goes in one ear and out the other. They gave me that information years ago, but it must have gone in one ear and out the other. Everything I say to you seems to go in one ear and out the other. Why don't you pay attention? I can't concentrate. Things people say to me just go in one ear and out the other. I've told him so many times. It just goes in one ear and out the other. If I have to listen to something I don't understand, it just goes in one ear and out the other. All the criticism is water off a duck's back to me.
Is water off a duck's back. Entra por um ouvido e sai pelo outro.
All the criticism is water off a duck's back to me. He tried to convince her to take the job, but his advice was like water off a duck's back. All those things he said to me were just water off a duck's back. I've told him that he can't keep throwing money around like that, but he doesn't listen. It's just water off a duck's back. Every time you discipline him, he will smile sweetly, so that you may think your rebukes are like water off a duck's back.
Toda vez que você o disciplina, ele sorri docentemente para que você pense que as suas reprimendas entraram por um ouvido e saíram pelo outro.
Every time you discipline him, he will smile sweetly, so that you may think your rebukes are like water off a duck's back.
Dinheiro fácil.
We can buy them for $10 and sell them for $25. Easy money.
Easy money.
Schools facing tight budgets see corporate sponsorship as easy money. Sincere spirit and moral authority count, not quick and easy money.
Espírito sincero e autoridade moral não contam, não dinheiro fácil e rápido.
Sincere spirit and moral authority count, not quick and easy money. The thought of easy money draws many people to drug dealing. The business pages were calling it the end of the era of easy money. Babysitting is money for old rope if the children don't wake up.
Money for old hope.
Babysitting is money for old rope if the children don't wake up. I had always believed that the top model's job was money for old rope. We are not part of that circle whose members regularly get money for old rope. That was money for old rope because they did not have to do anything. He charged £65 for a 30-minute consultation. How's that for money for old rope? Selling ice cream is money for jam when it is very hot. I'm getting paid to stay in my neighbor's mansion while they're on holiday. Wow, that'll be money for jam.
Money for jam. Dinheiro fácil.
I love working on bicycles, so this job will be money for jam. 20 quid for watching a movie while the kids are asleep? Sounds like money for jam to me. With his experience, the business was money for jam at $25 for a light morning's work.
Em vão. In vain.
It became obvious that all her complaints were in vain. He wants the world to know his son did not die in vain. I hope their sacrifices have not been in vain. I tried in vain to start a conversation. All the police's efforts to find him were in vain. We walked on, looking in vain for a taxi. He swore that his son's death would not be in vain. Police searched in vain for the missing gunman. Workers tried in vain to keep the building from collapsing. It took a great deal of courage to admit that all her efforts had been in vain. The students asked the school to help them raise the money, but to no avail.
But to no avail. Em vão.
The students asked the school to help them raise the money, but to no avail. They tried to discuss the issue calmly, but to no avail. All my protesting over the decision to fire Jeff was to no avail. Everything I did to help was of no avail. Nothing worked. All his shouting was to no avail. No one could hear him. We searched the whole area, but all to no avail. I apologized repeatedly, but to little avail.
Prestar atenção.
All I do is pay attention to my body. I hope you're paying attention because you'll be tested later. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying. Pay attention, Mark. There will be a quiz on this material at the end of the week. Pay particular attention to the warnings printed on the label. Pay close attention to what she says. I don't think she was paying any attention to what I was saying. My father never paid attention to the financial burden his gambling was creating until it was too late.
Meu pai nunca prestou atenção ao ônus financeiro que a sua jogatina estava criando até que fosse tarde demais.
My father never paid attention to the financial burden his gambling was creating until it was too late. You need to start paying attention to your kids, or you won't have a relationship with them when they're grown up. Max always pays careful attention to what is being told to him. Organizations in this environment must pay attention to flexibility, quality, and asset utilization to remain competitive. However, the candidate's response can be very revealing, and interviewers should pay attention to it.
Não dá para reclamar. I can't complain.
How are things going? I can't complain. How have you been? I can't complain. How is work? Well, I make a good living. I can't complain. How are you feeling? I can't complain. Hi, Fred. How are you doing? Nothing to complain about. How are things at work? Nothing to complain about. She asked me how I was, and I answered there was nothing to complain about. How did you sleep? Oh, not too bad. Mustn't grumble.
Mustn't grumble. Não devo reclamar.
How did you sleep? Oh, not too bad. Mustn't grumble. How's it going then, Mike? Oh, not too bad. Mustn't grumble. How are you today? Mustn't grumble.
Pegar pesado. Be hard on.
Please don't be hard on Tessa. She's such a sensitive kid. You mustn't be hard on him. Take it easy, okay? You are right. Perhaps I'm too hard on her. Don't be hard on the boy. He didn't mean it. I know I didn't do well on the exam, but I didn't expect my dad to be so hard on me about it. He grounded me for a month. Don't be so rough on them for making a mistake. Aren't you being a little rough on him? He is only a child. You know, I kind of expect her to be rough on me. I really screwed up this time. Why are you being so rough on him? You're not perfect either. You're not rough on him like you should be, and I think that's the problem.
Não deixe de. Be sure to.
Be sure to ring and let us know you've got back safely.
Não deixe de nos ligar e avisar que você voltou bem.
Be sure to ring and let us know you've got back safely. Be sure to read all the directions carefully. Be sure to help your mom around the house. Be sure to fasten your seatbelt. Be sure to pick up a shovel before this weekend's snowstorm. Be sure to double check that the door is locked. Be sure to give your family my regards. Be sure to call me tomorrow. Be sure to read The Lord of the Rings before you kick the bucket. Be sure to see if she needs any help before you start playing your games.
Pass off. Ocorreu.
The protest march passed off without any serious trouble. The pop festival passed off peacefully despite the fears of local residents. The main demonstration passed off peacefully. The event passed off without any major incidents. I was so nervous, but the ceremony passed off without a hitch.
Without a hitch. Sem percalços.
I was so nervous, but the ceremony passed off without a hitch. He passed himself off as a doctor.
Ele se passou por médico.
He passed himself off as a doctor. He put on an old blue suit, intending to pass himself off as a businessman. This is the kind of thing a man who passes himself off as a fashion consultant can be expected to know. It is an offense for a private company to pass itself off as being a public company, and vice versa. I wonder how many years unqualified people could pass themselves off as consultant thoracic surgeons, for example, without detection. The agents managed to pass themselves off as wealthy businessmen. I passed Jake off as my brother so he could take advantage of our family discount. The watches are fakes, but they tried to pass them off as genuine Rolexes. They bought up pieces of old furniture and passed them off as valuable antiques. They tried to pass the crystals off as diamonds. There are always guys passing cheap watches off as Rolexes in this part of town.
Até certo ponto. To some degree.
To some degree, we'll have to compromise. These statements are, to some degree, all correct. To some degree, I think that's right, but there are other factors which affect the situation. Your essay would be improved to some degree by tidying up your paragraphs. The administration is willing to negotiate to some degree, but it is not ready to make any significant changes to the legislation. To a certain extent, he's right. If the composition of the family changes, the house can be adjusted and, to a certain extent, enlarged. To a certain extent, this was anticipated before the study was undertaken. Even I believe that it is true to a certain extent. We are all, to a certain extent, affected by our surroundings. Was she good? Up to a point. Of course, there is some truth in all this, but only up to a point. The new traffic system worked up to a point, but it had its problems. I understand his feelings up to a point. Competition is good, but only up to a point.
Up to a point. Até certo ponto.
Competition is good, but only up to a point. I understand his feelings up to a point.
Dar branco.
My mind went blank when I heard the question. When he asked me her name, my mind just went blank. My heart began to race, and my mind went blank. My mind went totally blank. I tried to remember her name, but my mind was a complete blank. Can you remind me of your name? I'm so sorry, but I've gone completely blank right now. I just went blank and couldn't remember his name for a minute. I don't know what happened. I just blanked out.
I just blanked out.
I totally blanked when it came to the written part of the exam. I was about to say something important, but I blanked out. I blank out every time I try to remember his name.
Ainda mais.
Several publishers rejected her book, But that just made her all the more determined. The fact that they'd written the play themselves made it all the more impressive. The living room is decorated in light colors that make it all the more airy. His progress as a boxer is all the more remarkable when taking into account his unique circumstances. You might think that my husband's rudeness to me would turn me off. Actually, it just makes me love him all the more. They are all the more deserving of our attention. Any devaluation of the pound would make it even more difficult to keep inflation low. The town's even more prosperous than Nagahama. I can offer you something even more powerful than money. I think you should get her something even more romantic than that.
Even more. Ainda mais.
But that's too hard, especially for you Americans. No offense. I find this outrageous, especially coming from you. He won't try anything funny, especially here. You're risking a lot to do this, especially after what happened this morning.
A partir de.
Drinks will be served from 7 o'clock. I lived with him from the age of 20. Breakfast is available to fishermen from 6 a.m. From tomorrow, every expense form that you submit must first be signed by Roger. As of next month, all the prices will go up. We won't be living here anymore as of tomorrow. As of next Friday, all the airline's fares will be going up. As of this year, women hold 51.4% of all managerial positions. As of 6th April 1999, all gifts to charities will be free of tax. The new law takes effect as from July 1st. As from today, the bank will be open for business from 9:30 a.m. As from this weekend, we'll be away for a few weeks. As from next Monday, she'll have a new secretary.
De ponta cabeça.
The car rolled and landed upside down. The bar staff put the chairs upside down on the tables. The counters were sparkling, the chairs were all upside down on the tables, and the floor was swept. I left the book open at page 3, upside down on the side of the bath. Turn the jar upside down and shake it. The plane was flying upside down at high speed. Turn the mold upside down and give it a gentle tap. It was an abstract painting, and I couldn't tell whether it was upside down or not. The painting was hung upside down. His eyes were open, and everything he saw was upside down. The car landed upside down in a ditch.
O carro caiu de cabeça para baixo em uma vala.
The car landed upside down in a ditch. Thieves have turned our house upside down. The basis of the past policy behind economic diplomacy is now turned upside down. Things have turned upside down in a matter of weeks, thanks to the virus.
Responsabilizar.
If anything happens to her, I'll hold you personally responsible. He may have had a terrible childhood, but he should still be held accountable for his own actions. I hold the police responsible for what happened that day. He held me personally responsible whenever anything went wrong in the project. If the plan fails, I will hold you responsible. He holds me responsible for the project's failure. I don't care if Vince is trying to blame this blunder on his staff. I hold him responsible. Who do we hold responsible for this blunder? I hold you accountable for John's well-being. He holds me responsible for his missing money. Managers should take more responsibility for their actions. We all need to take responsibility for that. The biggest boy took the responsibility of answering for us all. Since it was my idea to throw the ball, I took responsibility for the broken window. You have to take responsibility for your life.
De jeito nenhum.
So you're going to bring Kev, are you? Not on your life. I want to see Claire alone. Not on your life, he replied. Lend him $50? Not on your life. Are you going to go and work for him then? Not on your life. She wanted to change everything, but I told her, not on your life. This room is mine. Are you going to tell him? Not on your life. You should have given him a lift. In that condition? Not on your life. Do the government's policies really help the average worker? Not on your life. Go out and miss the football match on TV? Not on your life. Hey, Johnny, come over and help me paint the house this afternoon. Not on your life, Davy. I've got plans tonight and have no intention of getting dirtied up before then.
Passar despercebido.
His contribution did not go unnoticed. She saw flaws that normally would have gone unnoticed. The results indicated that a significant percentage of the errors went unnoticed. He hoped that his nervousness would go unnoticed. It was dark, and their entry into camp had gone unnoticed. Feeding soldiers is not a glamorous business. For the most part, it is an administrative function that goes unnoticed. The success of the tests had not gone unnoticed at the Air Ministry. Underscoring this notion is the fact that other diseases continue to go unnoticed under the very nose of modern medicine. I hope her work to protect stray dogs doesn't go unnoticed. If his sudden wealth had gone unnoticed, he wouldn't have been caught.
Se a sua riqueza repentina tivesse passado despercebida, ele não teria sido pego.
If his sudden wealth had gone unnoticed, he wouldn't have been caught. The disease often has no symptoms and can go unnoticed. The attacks have not gone unnoticed in Brussels. A lot of work he does goes unnoticed. If the defect goes unnoticed beyond 18 months, pressure on the brain can cause permanent damage.
Fim de papo.
This woman is innocent. End of story. I'm not going. End of story. I'm not going to lend you any more money. End of story. I didn't do anything wrong here, okay? End of story. Don't try to defend him. He's just a snitch. End of story. I did it because I wanted to. End of story. The Beatles were the best band in history. End of discussion. Drop it, Marcus. End of discussion. He yelled at me and I left. End of discussion. Look, I already told you I can't give you a job here. End of discussion. You're not going out tonight. End of. It's your turn to do the dishes. End of. Friends is the best TV series ever. End of.
Você quem manda.
All right, you're the boss. Let's continue working on this tomorrow. Time to go home now. Okay, you're the boss. Well, if you say so, let's do it. You're the boss. I think that if we're going to do this, we should make sure we get official permission. But you're the boss. Well, you're the boss, I suppose. Just don't blame me if this doesn't go down well. Well, you're the boss. Let's get down to business then. Well, you're the boss. Whatever you say goes. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes? Well, you're the boss. Let's do it. If you really want to do this, let's go ahead and do it. You're the boss. Whatever you say, you're the boss.
Sem ofensas.
No offense, but I think you are mistaken. Dad, you need a bath. No offense. I'm not sure you're the best person for the job. No offense, Charlie. No offense, but I think it may be time you cleaned up your kitchen. All I'm saying is that I think we could use some more help with the renovation. No offense, John, you've been a big help. No offense, but I'd really like to be on my own. No offense, but this cheese tastes like rubber. No offense, but I find your sister a little rude. If you don't mind, I'd rather go on my own. No offense, but I think it would be better. No disrespect to the team, but it wasn't their best performance. No disrespect to John Beck, but the club has been happier since he left. Jerry, no disrespect, but you really need to connect more with your family. I'm sorry, I meant no offense. I mean no offense, but isn't there someone more qualified for the job? I mean no offense by what I'm about to say, but you look very tired. Any one of your tenants, Sir John, and I mean no offense, could be the assassin. No offense, but your bedroom is a mess. No worries, none taken. I've been meaning to clean it all week. I don't think the work you've done so far will be enough. No offense. None taken. If you need more done, just say the word. No offense, but your hair is pretty messy, Claire. None taken. I woke up like this, to be honest.
Não taken. Sem ofensas.
No offense, but your hair is pretty messy, Claire. None taken. I woke up like this, to be honest.
De queixo caído. Flabbergasted.
She is flabbergasted by the whole affair. When they announced her name, the winner just sat there, flabbergasted. When they saw the list of their duties, they were completely flabbergasted. But if the findings, published in 1996, surprised most scientists, recent research has left them flabbergasted. But if the findings, published in 1996, surprised most scientists, recent research has left them flabbergasted. Everybody was flabbergasted when I announced I was going to emigrate to Australia. He was dumbfounded by the allegations.
Dumbfounded.
He was dumbfounded by the allegations.
De queixo caído.
I was devastated the first time it happened, and dumbfounded each time thereafter. It was so quickly done that, for an instant, I was dumbfounded. Everyone was dumbfounded at the inexplicable mystery, and at last, they all began to laugh. He didn't do anything. Instead, he just stood there, dumbfounded. It was one of those jaw-dropping moments. One insider who has seen the report said it was pretty jaw-dropping stuff.
Jaw-dropping.
One insider who has seen the report said it was pretty jaw-dropping stuff. Their win against Brazil was one of the most jaw-dropping moments in football history.
Pelo contrário.
There was no malice in her. On the contrary, she was very kind. It wasn't a good thing. On the contrary, it was a huge mistake. The crime problem has not disappeared. On the contrary, it seems to be becoming worse again. Did I fail the test? On the contrary, you passed with flying colors. The risk of infection hasn't diminished. On the contrary, it has increased. It is not an idea around which the community can unite. On the contrary, I see it as one that will divide us. I thought you said the film was exciting. On the contrary, I nearly fell asleep halfway through it. People just don't do things like that. On the contrary, they do them all the time. I suppose your wife doesn't understand you. On the contrary, she understands me very well. And quite the contrary, we have increased oil production. And quite the contrary, we have increased oil production. That is not to say that the film is bad, quite the contrary. There is nothing disreputable or sinister in this, quite the contrary. A liberal, secular constitution does not mean intolerance for religious beliefs, quite the contrary. Your needs do not decrease on retirement, quite the contrary. Are they happy? No, quite the contrary. Was he angry? No, quite the opposite. He invited me to have dinner with him. I didn't feel sleepy at all, just the opposite, in fact. I'm not a feminist, quite the opposite.
Entrar em detalhes. Go in the details.
Brian said he had been in various parts of Britain, but did not go into details. He doesn't wish to go into detail about all the events of those days. I did not go into detail on the phone, but stressed the importance of what we needed to talk about. Mr. Shaw refused to go into detail about the discussions. I don't want to go into details, but there were a few legal issues that prevented us from participating. The clerk went into detail about the product with the customer. I can't go into details now. It would take too long. I just want a simple answer. Don't go into details. I don't think your essay goes into detail enough about how the 3 books relate to one another. The newspaper reports went into great detail about his political background. I will try to tell the story without going into too much detail.
Colocar panos quentes. Pour oil on troubled waters.
It's time to pour oil on troubled waters. My husband's always arguing with my father, and I'm the one who has to pour oil on troubled waters. If those two are arguing again, send Mom in to talk to them. She's great at pouring oil on troubled waters. You've got what it takes to pour oil on troubled waters right now. The twins are quarreling, so I'd best go pour oil on troubled waters. His ideas caused real dissension within the party at first, but he poured oil on troubled waters in last night's speech. His ideas caused real dissension within the party at first, but he poured oil on troubled waters in last night's speech. I remember him taking umbrage when he thought I was doubting his grandmother's skills, so quickly poured oil on troubled waters. He is an extremely experienced politician who some diplomats believe may be able to pour oil on troubled waters. He is an extremely experienced politician who some diplomats believe may be able to pour oil on troubled waters. is an extremely experienced politician who some diplomats believe may be able to pour oil on troubled waters. Friends are a blessing. They pour oil on troubled waters, drag you to parties, and make you feel loved. Friends are a blessing. They pour oil on troubled waters, drag you to parties, and make you feel loved. Mama got into some frightful fuss with the staff at the American House, and Papa's having to pour oil on troubled waters.
Mais do que nunca. More than ever.
Mankind needs hope more than ever. Sister, I need your wisdom more than ever. Sister, I need your wisdom more than ever. More than ever, marketers require data to better understand their customers. Your adventure stories make me want to travel more than ever. After spending the weekend with him, I like him more than ever. We are spending more than ever on education. It is obvious that more than ever, we need a strong European Union. Don't let her down. She needs you more than ever. Now that I've proposed, Simone wants me more than ever. I am, more than ever, conscious of my shortcomings. Now that she's with him, I want her more than ever. I screwed up, and now they hate me more than ever.
Correr atrás. Running after.
I really hope that my band will keep on being honest and playing the good music instead of turning into rats running after the rock star lifestyle. She has spent her life running after fame and fortune. They've spent years running after that market. Run after excellence, and success will follow you. In today's fast-paced world, where everyone is running after success and money, the one thing that often gets looked over is our health. It's depressing how many people there are chasing so few jobs. After years of chasing her dreams, she finally got a part in a film. She is chasing her 4th championship title. I don't want to spend my whole life chasing after material possessions. People who spend their lives always chasing after pleasure have a good chance of attaining it.
Entrar em campo.
The home team took the field. He suffered a concussion and did not take the field again. Just look at the team who will take the field today. A very different lineup will take the field today.
Uma seleção muito diferente vai entrar em campo hoje.
A very different lineup will take the field today. Every team in future should simply refuse to take the field if he is playing. But it must be tough when you are expected to be superhuman every time that you take the field. Everyone rose to their feet as the home team took the field. We are waiting for the moment when the two teams will take the field in the opening match of the World Cup. Both teams will take the field for the first time this week. People cheered as the team took the field for the first time since their recent defeat.
Batatas fritas e batatas chips.
I'd like a hamburger and French fries. The French fries were thin and crispy. To cook the French fries, put them into a deep pan of oil. Tommy's hamburger was set before him on a platter, along with coleslaw and French fries. Carol brought us steaks, French fries, and salad of the kind you somehow just cannot get in England. These French fries are soggy. How come they say that they are the specialty of the house? He consumes vast quantities of chips with every meal. Should we order more chips? Joe demolished an enormous plateful of sausages and chips. The children seem to exist on a diet of burgers and potato chips. I've just bought a deep fat fryer for cooking potato chips. Normally we get potato chips, but we can have onion rings this time. I had a sandwich and a bag of potato chips for lunch. Afterwards, she tossed the empty potato chip bag out the window. Too many potato chips on the school menu is unhealthy. When baked or dehydrated, kale takes on a consistency similar to that of a potato chip. He ate potato chips while we watched the movie. I had a packet of salt and vinegar crisps. If you gorge yourself on crisps like that, you won't eat your dinner. 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, please. I bought some crisps and nuts and other nibbles. If you eat 3 good meals a day, you're less likely to snack on biscuits and crisps.
Azar o seu. It's your funeral.
Have it your own way. You'll be sorry. It's your funeral.
Faça como quiser, você se arrependerá. Azar o seu.
Have it your own way. You'll be sorry. It's your funeral. I don't care whether you quit your job. It's your funeral. Go ahead, buy that worthless piece of junk. It's your funeral. Okay, fine. Don't do what Mom said. It's your funeral. I'm going to call in sick and go to the ball game instead of to work today. Go ahead. It's your funeral. None of my business, I guess. It's your funeral. I'm going to go into the boss and say what I really think of him. It's your funeral. My cab driver shrugged his shoulders as if to say, it's your funeral. I think you're making a big mistake, but if you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. It's your funeral. I won't discuss it. Then don't. It's your funeral. Tough luck. I told you this was a bad idea. I need more time to finish the job. Tough luck. You knew the job was supposed to be done by today. If you take the car, I won't be able to go out. Tough luck. If you don't like the idea, tough luck. You should have said something earlier. Anyone who misses 3 classes will fail, and if you don't like it, tough luck. I can't do anything about it, so tough luck.